Hello, everybody. It's Ken Davenport. How is everyone? It's Friday night, y'all. It's Friday night. Friday night. This is the late night edition of the Producer's Perspective Live, coming to you on a Friday night from the heart of the Upper West Side. It's 8:45. 8:45. There's a very important reason why we are doing this at 8:45. We have a very, very special guest tonight, Sergio Trujillo, Tony Award-winning choreographer Sergio, and a fantastic guy. And when we put out this request, Sergio, do you want to do it? He was like, yes, absolutely. I have only one problem. I can't do it at 8 o'clock. And I was like, why can't you do it at 8 o'clock? What, do you have a show? No, you don't have a show. So don't give me that. You don't have a show. He said, I have to put my kid to bed. And my heart just like grew, like the Grinch on the Grinch Who Stole Christmas, just like grew inside. Also, I know that feeling because you want to put your kid to bed, because I do the same thing. So we are here all because of Lucas, all because Lucas has a little bit later bath time and bedtime. And Sergio knows what his priorities are. He was like, Ken, your live stream, F it. The kid comes first. And I so agree with that, especially now. This is an unbelievable reminder that those are the things that matter the most in this world. We all love the theater. We all love Broadway. We all love these things. But it all should come second to the family and the people around you. And I want to say a special shout out to every single one of my family members, especially that one family member that is alone right now. But I'm thinking a lot about it. So let's get to it. Don't forget why we're here. We are here for the Actors Fund. I'm coming to you every single night in order to showcase the Actors Fund. They are working their butt off. We're also here for Broadway Cares Equity Fights Age. Sergio will talk a little bit about this. His husband, Jack Noseworthy, who's a fantastic actor, by the way. And we're talking about something a little specific you're about to see for Jack. But Jack works for Broadway Cares Equity Fights Age, another incredible, incredible organization that's going to be doing a lot of help for a lot of people in need during this time. Mary, throw up that domain at some point during this live stream so everyone can give a little if they can to Broadway Cares or the Actors Fund. It's a tough time for all these folks, so give if you can. Don't forget, stay home, stay safe, I just reversed that. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay home. This is what it's all about, and we're hearing lots of things these days about everything you can do. New York now, we're being recommended to wear masks if you're going to public places. So take a look at all that stuff. Just listen to what everyone's saying. Just listen and do it. You know, just like a 2-year-old, just listen and do exactly what your parents tell you to do. I think Sergio would tell you that's not exactly the way it works, but that's what we're going to do because we're not 2 years old. We're going to stay home. Last night, I just wanted to draw attention. Last night, Lee Silverman talked about doing this virtual workshop. Today on my blog, we posted 10 tips for a virtual reading based on Lee's suggestions and Jill Chodorov-Kaminsky, who is a member of one of my groups and part of my inner circle, if you will. She has been doing readings and she composed these 10 tips. So they're not even mine, but we publicize them. So check out the blog today. If you want to do a reading, there's 10 tips on how to pull off a more successful one. Okay, are you ready? Let's get to this. Strike it, reverse it. Let's get to the man of the half hour. Please welcome to the live stream, Mr. Sergio Trujillo. Sergio.
Hey, Ken. Thanks so much for adjusting your time. I literally just put on this shirt because I was in my jammies, and I thought, you know what? Let me just look a little bit more presentable. But thank you for adjusting your time. It's Lucas has become so, as you all of the parents out there, by the way, all of you, yeah. I totally get it. You have all of my respect. It is the most beautiful thing we have ever done. That is just life changing. So I know you have a 2-year-old. I have a 2-year-old. And by the way, Lucas decided to hit his terrible twos the day we began our isolation. So for the last 3 weeks, we've been dealing with a 2-year-old and his terrible twos.
And this is a little bit of a reversal for you because you're usually, flying all over the world, directing new companies, auditioning, doing all the stuff on all your shows. And now you're stuck at home. Your husband, who works for Broadway Cares, is a very active time for him. You're doing the nannying, is that right? Is that what you're doing?
Yes, I listen. I'm discovering I'm doing things that I've never done before, but taking care of Lucas is 24/7. Again, all the parents out there, I get it. I get it. You have my respect. But yeah, no, but listen. So yeah, from the moment that Lucas wakes up, I'm the Manny. It's me. It's on, and I'm on. And I've never cooked. So Alexa, good old Alexa, is helping me get through all of this because I do. Hey Alexa, what do I make today? Alexa, how do I make a chicken piccata? Alexa. So because I'm listening, the only thing I can make is coffee. So all of these new skills I'm discovering through this whole thing. So, but Jack, on the other hand, he's been working 12, 14-hour days in the office, which I'm in right now, working on a specific campaign for Broadway Cares Equity Fight AIDS for the Actors Fund for COVID, and the bucket right here. So please donate to this great cause. But no, I'm very proud of what Jack is doing right now. He's being so devoted, and we need for all of us to pull together through all of this and try to help out as much as we can.
Yeah, it's a very difficult time, and I have to, like, your Alexa comment. I literally asked Alexa the other day, "How do you make bacon?" Like, you're doing chicken piccata. I was like, "I think there's some bacon in here." I was like, "How do you make bacon?" And I fried it up, and my wife came out and she was like, "Are you making bacon?" I said, "Yeah." And then she said, "That bacon's been sitting there for like 3 months." It tasted okay to me. So I totally.
I tried that over the weekend, and I can't deny that I was a little bit of a mess as well. So it's all by the time this is all done, I'll be a maitre d' summer. I'll be my second career.
So tell me, where I've been asking everyone this, which is where you were you when the virus hit the fan, if you will? Like, where were you? What were you doing when all of a sudden you knew that this was different, that we weren't going to be able to just brush this off, and that you were going to have to come home if you were away and hunker down? When did it become real?
Luckily, I live on a great building with a great group of neighbors, and one of my neighbors who lives down the hallway has a lot of relatives in Korea, and she was keeping us abreast. As a matter of fact, she was a little bit of an alarmist, but not so much anymore because she actually was encouraging us to go to order food, to get to get all supplies, and she was sending us lists and doing all of the research. So I would say that it's been 4 weeks that we have been preparing for this, but I was actually, it was on a Wednesday. It was the Wednesday, yeah, 3.5 weeks ago, where I got a call from Terrible Urban Casting because we were supposed to go into final auditions for the tour of Ain't Too Proud, and we had all of these different actors that were coming in from everywhere, and so that is what I remember vividly. Like, that is the moment that I knew that something was going on, and then we took it very, very serious again, all of us, and it changes again when you have children. The priorities change. So yeah, I mean, it's so sort of like, it's like a twilight zone-ish for all of us. I have this sort of, my body is always sort of vibrating a little bit because it's all of the, for all of us, is the unknown. We're all in this together, but it's also something we have none of us have ever been through. So yeah, so that's what I remember vividly.
And besides Ain't Too Proud, obviously running on Broadway now in a tour, did you have other shows that were affected by this or projects?
Yeah, luckily and unfortunately, I had 7 shows that were affected by all of this. The rollout, I mean, Jersey Boys continues to have world domination. So Jersey Boys was affected. On Your Feet, which was touring the UK. Bronx Tale, which was touring nationally. Summer, which was touring nationally. Ain't Too Proud, of course. Jersey Boys off Broadway, and then I came in to redo from scratch Paramore for Cirque du Soleil in Hamburg. So that one as well. Now I was supposed to go 3 weeks ago. I was supposed to be there to do my because we were going into the second year of the show, and I was going to go in for auditions as well. So and then I had auditions for all of the replacements for all of it. I mean, it's just been the rescheduling, but really right now everyone's on a standstill.
Mhm.
So again, it's uncharted territories for all of us, and just I think we're just making it up as we go along, and really relying on each other for support and guidance, really.
And what are you doing to keep? I mean, you're such a positive guy, and you obviously so prolific. You do so many shows, and you love to work on so many projects. How are you keeping projects going, or keeping yourself up when we're stuck in these apartments and during this time?
So I've been truthfully, I have to be honest with you. I've been wanting to take a sabbatical of sorts for a while, like at least 6 months of my life, to be able to like really focus in on work projects and ideas and stories that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And so this is the time. This is so I've been, as well as balancing my my many responsibilities. I'm getting to I have 5 new shows that I'm developing as director choreographer. Yeah, one of them I'm doing with my husband Jack Noseworthy. We optioned the rights based on a film called Real Women Have Curves. It's a beautiful story, uh, and a Latinx story, an empowering story for women. Um, and so we're working on that together, and we're all of these different projects are in different phases of development. I'm actually doing I don't know what's going to happen to it now, but I'm doing a new show at the Public that I'm co-directing with Tony Taccone that Susan Laurie Parks wrote, called "The Harder They Come," based on a film from the 1970s, a cult film that with Jimmy Cliff, using Jimmy Cliff's music. Beautiful story. And that one, it's the one that's coming up the soonest. So again, I'm using all of the time to just keep going and try to figure out how to balance life and stress and use this time to really dig in and really devote time to those ideas and the stories and our friends, and it also allows us to bond, for those 2 hours. And by the way, Zoom, I'm sure everyone's using Zoom now, so it allows us to connect in that way, whether it's with the composer or with the entire team. This like it's really sort of sacred time right now. It's like it's kind of it's almost like religion right now, like we're all at a really religious gathering of sort, to allow us to bring some peace through our work.
First of all, I love to hear that you're doing more and more directing now. It's just, ever since I've started watching you as a choreographer, I was like, oh, this guy is going to be one of these great director choreographers on Broadway. So I love to hear that is now something you're certainly adding to your resume. But obviously, a lot of your work is going to be movement based because you're a choreographer first, you're dancer first, a Broadway vet, then choreographer, and now you can't move. You can't, like, unless you have some dance studio there, which you'd be the only probably person in New York City that has a dance studio in their apartment. So how do you, this is really, whether it's in a pandemic or not, when you're developing a new piece, what is your developmental process like? Do you do it in an office like that usually, or is it usually in the studio and you're just changing it up for this?
Well, I think where I'm at in all of these different projects in terms of development, we're not at a place where I can put my choreographer's hat on. I think for me, in terms of my process and the process of developing an original, because by the way, these are all original shows, they're not revivals, and some of them are based on books or movies or what have you, and none of them are based on the Harder They Come has a Jimmy Cliff's catalog, but it's a fictional story. But anyway, so right now I'm this what this time is also allowing me is to really do the research and really dig into each one of the stories. And you know I think right now too, and it happens when I'm choreographing as well, sometimes the ideas come at the least expected times. I could be on a walk, or I could be with Lucas, or I could be with Jack, or we can have dinner. My mind is always at work. So it's always, and even, and again, and then when I start to choreograph, even those ideas are always at work. I always tell this great story. When I was doing Memphis, there was a number that I couldn't quite crack open, and it was a song called Radio in the show, and so I wasn't sure how to approach that number, and what we were living in Harlem at the time, and I happened to be walking by a playground, and these young girls were playing double dutch. These African American girls were playing double dutch, and that, seeing those girls doing double dutch, like, opened up a whole set of
Wow.
ideas for the numbers. So, I think divine intervention and and the ideas come before that, because I feel like it's important for it always to be, for it always to be alive, um, in you as you go about your day.
And when you put that choreographic hat on and you go into a studio, do you go into a studio knowing the steps you're going to teach to, or how much of it is improvisational based on the dancers on the spot, or do you go in knowing, okay, I'm going to teach this number, here's exactly what it's going to be from start to finish?
So, I, for me, I begin to formulate the ideas about what the story of the specific number wants to be, and so I don't write them down, because for me, choreography is such a physical,
Hmm.
it's a physical way of creating. But what I do is, I go into the studio with, usually, I build the process. So I begin with my associate and the dance arranger and a percussionist, and I begin to experiment with the way that the world of the show moves, because I think, and before then, I would have done all of the research that I could have done with the period, or cultural references or anything like that, because I feel like that knowledge empowers you and liberates you. And so when I go into the studio, I know all of that, and then I just begin to dance, really, knowing, again, I know what the story that it is that I want to tell, and but I also want to find a way of movement. Like, what is that? Like, how does Memphis move? How does, Ain't Too Proud move? How does, On Your Feet move? All that, and Next to Normal. It's all very specific, and that is my gateway into each one of the shows.
What was the first show that you choreographed when you were starting to make the transition from dancer to choreographer?
So the first show that I choreographed was, I was when I decided to choreograph, I thought, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Toronto and choreograph shows in Toronto, because I'll be a bigger fish in a smaller pond.
Hmm.
Because it was important for me to be able to really work on my craft, and that meant really, go up to bat. What are you going to do with real professional, jobs? I mean, you can be doing a workshop, or you can be doing smaller projects, or some labs, or what have you. But it's really when you have to really, but the responsibility is on you to choreograph big production numbers in a big show. That's when you really begin to really hone in on your craft, I think. So I was lucky enough to choreograph at the Stratford Festival. I did a revival of West Side Story in 1999, which we got phenomenal reviews. I used, of course, the original choreography, but there were numbers I didn't know the original choreography too. And the Robin State was kind enough to allow me to just create my own work. So that was one of the things and from that, I got Peggy Sue Got Married in the West End. When that was in 2001, right before September 11th. So. So that was where it all began to take shape. And then, I stayed outside of New York for between 2001 and 2004, working on various shows in Canada, and some of them in LA, because I knew that, it's the thing about when that opportunity presents itself, you have to hit it out of the ballpark. And I felt prepared. I felt like I had done my work. I'd also, by that time, I'd assisted, very, Jerry Mitchell, Debbie Allen, Michael Peters, Rob Marshall, and worked in some, phenomenal. I worked on Jerome Robbins' Broadway and Fosse. So, you take all of that knowledge, all of that information, and you just trust.
I love this big fish in a small pond idea. It reminds me a little bit of my start, because when I started producing, I didn't produce Broadway shows or co-produce. I literally jumped into off-Broadway so I could have all the responsibility, have to make those decisions for better or for worse, to learn by being in charge, rather than, try to sit just around a table with 10 other people, which you can learn a lot from. But I was like, no, just throw me in the firing line so I know how to deal with this. I love that approach.
Yeah, no, I think it just presents a different set of challenges and responsibilities that are it's like going to medical school. You can only learn so much through studying. You actually have to get in the room. You have to go to the operating table, or you have to go to the ER. You have to you do your residency, because that's when you really start to learn. So
yeah. Let's see if we've got some questions. If you have a question for Sergio, go ahead and throw them into the comment box. Here's one. Which show, you've done a lot of shows and so many great ones. I assume that's where Peggy Sue is where you met Bob Gaudio for the first time? Is that where you met Bob?
I did, yeah.
I'm working with him now. He's working on the Neil Diamond show with me because of his relationship with Neil. So, yeah.
I mean, he's just a real talent. I mean, he can write some beautiful music.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Clay Holly asks, which show has been the most challenging of yours to choreograph, whether it's the quietness of the source material, etc. Which was the most challenging, which show, and why?
It was Hands on a Hardbody.
Because,
yeah, I mean, I didn't do it on in La Jolla. I did it here in New York, because the real challenge was, how do I tell this story? How do I theatricalize this story through dance? And in a show where the characters have to have their hands on a truck for the entire show. And so I asked the producers, when actually Chris Ashley, a great friend of mine, he asked me to work on it. I said, sure, but before I even sign up on doing the show, I have to go into a studio for 3 weeks with a makeshift truck. I don't care if it's made out of cardboard, but I have to figure out if I have a way into it. And it was actually the scariest one out of all of them too, because I just didn't know how to crack it open. For a choreographer, to be limited with your hands tied up, it's like, and choreograph, go, basically I'm talking about my legs being tied up, like you just, and so, but once I discovered that, like what was the framing device of launching into a musical number. Once I did that, then I began to trust it, because there's always a fear. I think I know I do. There's always a little bit of fear. I'm always, even tonight to talk to you, I always, I get nervous. Not because there's always fear, there was always unknown, all of those things, but that makes me alive. And so, but yeah, I think Hands on a Hardbody was probably the most challenging.
You talked about auditioning a couple times tonight. What do you look for in a performer? Like, what do you, when they walk in the room, what do you notice about people first? What makes you want to cast someone?
I love dancers, actors, singers who aren't afraid of being who they are. I think I can only say this of myself, but I would imagine that a lot of people in my position is sometimes we look for ourselves in those people. One of the reasons why I decided, really why I knew I was going to do it, but as a dancer, I always felt stifled by having to dance somebody else's choreography, and Fosse was that, because you had to do it a certain way, and you were so restricted, and your hands had to be here, and you had to do this, and I just felt like I felt caged in, and I couldn't let my spirit soar through. And what I enjoy in rehearsals is when I'm able to give a choreographer, I mean, a dancer, my work, and they're able to take that work and sort of express it through their soul, through themselves, through that. So that's what I look for. I look for somebody who's not afraid of being who they are. Obviously, there are rules, there are counts, there are lines, because it's not up for grabs. I mean, but I think it's like it's those people that are really not afraid of.
Was it, speaking of fear, was it hard to tell people like, oh, I'm not going to dance anymore, I'm going to start to choreograph now? Were you nervous about telling people that and thinking like, oh boy, here comes another dancer that wants to choreograph? Was that hard?
No, I think for me is always a process of transition. So, and when I've made my decision, I go, I'm full on. So I was going to university to study. I was studying biochemistry at the University of Toronto, and then I went to chiropractic school. But really, what I wanted to be a dancer. But it took me a few years between the time I was in university and chiropractic school to really, really commit to the fact that I wanted to dance. And so once I made the decision to dance, I left Canada. I came to New York to be a dancer. The same thing with choreography. I knew towards the end of my dance career, and I had a great career of 10 years. My first show was Drummer, I was Broadway, my last show was Fosse. And during that time, I was studying from great masters. So when I made that decision, I was prepared to move on, and I was going to choreograph. And, the same thing with directing and choreographing. I've collaborated with some really phenomenally gifted directors. I mean, Des McAnuff, who's a brilliant man and my mentor, and Jerry Zaks, and Michael Greif, Chris Ashley, Jerry Mitchell, Rob Marshall, all of these. So when I was, I've been doing my master's in directing for the last 5-6 years. So, now, it's I have to step up to the bat and that's what I'm going to do.
I love it. And you glossed over it so quickly, like it was no big deal. I don't know if any of you caught that out there. Yes, Sergio Trujillo, Tony Award-winning choreographer, was going to be a chiropractor, everybody. He was going to be a chiropractor. Broadway is better off that you decided not to do that. So thank you for that. And thank you for being here tonight and putting your kid to bed and rushing over to our live stream. I so appreciate it. I always love chatting with you. It's great to see you.
Thank you. I mean, this is the thing I love about the Broadway community is how we can stand together and by you doing this, so we can raise money for the Actors Fund. But what Jack is doing, with Broadway Cares as well. This is what makes me love what I do, and it makes me proud of being part of this community. And it is truly a heartwarming family. So thank you for having me on it.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. We'll see you very soon. I can't wait, and we have to have another look at the kind of play date soon. So I look forward to it.
Forward to it.
All right, take care, my friend. Sergio Trujillo, everybody. What do you think about that? Amazing. I love stories like that. He was so on a path to do something else. He would have been a great chiropractor, I'm sure. But he made a decision, and he changed his path, and he committed 100%, got what he wanted, and then he changed his path again, committed 100%, got what he wanted. So it's a fantastic lesson to all of you out there who want to do anything. Now's the time. As you heard him say, you got some time to dedicate and focus on whatever it is you want to focus on right now. Do it, and you'll be staying home at the same time. You'll be doing a service to yourself and your future and to everybody else as well. Thanks for being here. Tomorrow night, Janine Tesori, incredible composer, incredible lyricist, going to be here tomorrow night. I first worked with Janine on Thoroughly Modern Millie. I can't wait for her to share what she's up to during this crazy crisis. Lots of fun people coming up next week. We are on 7 days a week. Look at all those people. I see Susan Blackwell in there. I see Kenny Leone in there. Stephen Bird, Jason Alexander from Seinfeld fame is in there. Mary Lou Henner, Justin Gore. I mean, this is getting ridiculous. It's just getting ridiculous. And I'm so blessed that these people are saying hello to me, and they'll be saying hello to all of you. So tune in. Don't forget about the Actors Fund. Don't forget about Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS. Now we're in. By the way, Sergio put a nice shirt on. I stayed in my jammies. I stayed in my jammies tonight because it was the late night issue. I hope that's okay. Before we go, something to make you smile. This is, we always leave you now with a little something extra to make you smile. We are going to put a link up for another video. By the way, send us, if you have things that make you smile throughout the day, send it to ken@theproducersperspective.com. Maybe you'll see it here and we'll give you a little shout out. This one is comes to me from a co-producer of mine, Sandy Moran. Shout out to Sandy if she's watching. The Broadway Coronavirus Medley from Zach Timson. This thing is something. You've got to see this thing. He does like 27 parodies in one. I did that one, Keep Your Distance, right, with the three princesses, which were amazing. There's one song. He does like 27 all himself. Broadway Coronavirus Medley. Go check it out. It's super fun. You'll enjoy it. Count all the songs that he does, and I guarantee it'll put a smile on your face. Janine Tesoro will put a smile on your face tomorrow night, so don't forget to tune into that. We will see you then. A little something extra we got for you tonight. Mary, show him the new card. Send him home with this.